are you looking up tonight? Mulling under the moonlight. Never thought to let it go. Soul searching out of your window. Tired eyes, never sleep unless your head's by mine. Holding on to what we call divine. Do you think we're running out of time? Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Daylight rushes in over your emerald eyes. Guess that means that we're all out of time. Like a dream, you only come out at night. Am I crazy? Watch the sun as it's fading. Can't believe I'm waiting around on you. So complicated. I thought that you would leave it, yet here we are under the moon. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side. Too late to stay, too dark for you to head home. Lay here with me, we'll watch another episode. Don't say goodnight. Stay by my side.
Hello. I have returned from the Etihad, where the roof was actually leaking on me before the ball was kicked, which was foreshadowing. It's literally never happened before. As I tweeted, it's the season of cursed things and everything weird. Guys, in today's show, as always, we're going to be discussing the match. What were the tactics? What worked? Because a lot of stuff did actually work today. What didn't work, though? And that sort of thing. As usual, I'm going to do like a sort of monologue at the start, and then I'll be doing a back and forth situation with you guys. If anyone's expecting me to, be upset at the result, then you are not in for a good time. I was actually quite happy with the performance overall, given the context of who we were up against, and just like given the context of how we've been this season, to be honest with you. So if you you guys are expecting me to dig out anyone for today, then you're not going to have a good time, to be honest with you. First things first, though, Liverpool deserved the victory. 2-0, maybe flattered City to an extent in terms of the goals we conceded. Although I would say, in fairness to us, it was basically off to, lapse of concentration / errors. But Liverpool were clinical. And in the second half in particular, people might say, oh, well, Liverpool didn't really do much in the second half. Right, but they scored 2 goals. So that game state's a thing, isn't it? They don't have to come out. They've done the hard work and they scored 2 goals. So Liverpool deserve to win, and for me, they are probably the best team in the world this season. Would you say? Salah's was another goal and assist for Salah, but for like Real Madrid and Mbappe winning the Champions League, I'd expect Salah to win the Ballon d'Or. That's how good of a season he's having. Liverpool have, I think, statistically, the second best defense in the league, only behind Arsenal. But unlike Arsenal, they have the attacking unit as well. So there's no shame in losing to them. And genuinely, I thought it was quite a decent performance by City. So again, if you're expecting me to, get mad and upset, you're not going to have a good time. You might want to leave right now. That's just a suggestion. You don't have to. If you'd like to stay and hear what I have to say, you're more than welcome to. But I will not be. I'm not going to be really critical today because I was actually quite happy with the performance overall. Of course, it's a defeat. It's not ideal. And in previous seasons, it wouldn't be good enough. But we are not Man City this season. We are not what we were from the past 4 seasons, whatever. We are a very different side right now. Just because we've brought in some new players, and that's lovely, the issues are still there. They will not be remedied until we bring in more midfielders, probably a right back, etc., etc. So again, you've got to view things through context. There's no point of viewing City's 2025 games through the lens of the treble winning year. Your standards can't be the exact same every single season. If you're having an off season, you're having an off season. It's the thing. So I do agree with Sebastian, who says, despite the result, I saw many positives in the game. That's just me, though. Maybe you don't agree, but I try to have some sort of realistic outlook on the results. Again, was it a loss? Was it a loss? Yes. Am I happy that we lost? No. But I can be quite content and reasonably happy with the performance. So yeah, as I say, Liverpool deserve to win, of course. They didn't do anything particularly interesting, but that's not a critique, by the way. They didn't have to do anything particularly interesting. They just had to platform their players in a competent manner, and they were going to get the win today. Such is what happened. Again, Liverpool, the best side in in the world this season. That's going to happen. We didn't really have, in my view, a chance this game, especially with Haaland being out. We'll get into the attack in a moment. But for me, if anyone was predicting anything other than a Liverpool victory, I just don't really know what to tell you. I love the optimism, love it, but it was never going to happen. To be fair, Liverpool are just very good. Again, second best defensive unit in the world behind Arsenal, who are obviously the emphasis is on defending. Generally, so let's talk about how City set up, because there was no Haaland once again, and against Real Madrid, it was very, very unusual. Very unusual. And guys, don't worry, I will get into the comments in a moment. I can't see all of them right now. I will get into a back and forth in a moment. I just want to give my thoughts on the game first of all, such as the format of these shows. So against Real Madrid, without Haaland, we did a really weird thing, didn't we? Where we had Savio as a striker, and there was zero threat out wide, that sort of thing. It was really, really weird. It was very odd, and I touched on how I really actively disliked the tactics against Real Madrid. I felt that, and I actually feel like if we set up against Madrid how we did against Liverpool, I reckon we would have had a better time. Not saying we would have won. I don't think we would have won, but I think we could have had a better chance, certainly. In that game, I was like, why are we not going for their fullbacks? What's going on? This game, there was a lot of that going on. There was a lot of focus on Savio and Doku just getting at the Liverpool fullbacks. I don't know the exact stats, but there was something insane about the number of take-ons that Doku completed in that first half. We'll get into, why didn't that result in anything? Is that a Doku problem, or is that a wider problem? My view is that it's a latter. It's the not the former. It's the latter, not the former. So what did City do? False nine football made a true return. I can't remember the last time we played false nine in a big game. We've played it a bit this season. We played it against Watford, for example, but that was against Watford in the League Cup. Who cares, to be honest with you? I can't remember the last time we played it in a big game. I'm struggling. Last season and the season before when Haaland was out, Alvarez would just go there. So we might be looking at pre-treble winning year, I guess, in terms of that. So it's been a minute since we've properly done false nine football, pure false nine football like that. Because against Real Madrid, in my view, that wasn't really false nine. It was actually more of an actual striker. Today, Foden was the false nine. Really interesting. Good. I like that as a concept. We do need to make sure we don't forget how to do that, because I do think it's good to have that weapon at your disposal if you can do it. And it was pretty crucial, I think, that we did probably do it against Liverpool, because their midfield were always going to outmuscle us. Didn't really matter who we put on. Even if we put on the more conservative pairing of, Nico and Kovacic, for example, maybe that was the only other obvious solution. We're always going to lose out in terms of the midfield battle, because, Nico and Kova were not going to be able to take on, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones. I know that, I think it was Szoboszlai and Jones technically played as the two strikers out of possession, but there we go. That was a thing. And it meant that City actually did have that overload in the centre. And in the first half in particular, also happened in the second half, but the first half in particular, that was how we got a lot of joy. If you think about against Real Madrid in particular, we couldn't even really get out of our own half. And that's happened a lot this season, happened against Arsenal as well. Just not really able to get out of our own half. Not having Rodri there is a massive detriment, obviously. Having Nico there is helping, but it's still not really enough, nor will it ever will be. He's not going to solve all of City's issues on his own. So a solution is to just do what we did a few seasons ago and play a false nine. Now, whether that was, Marmoush, whether it was Foden, whoever it was going to be, didn't really matter who the player was, as long as it was someone, it was Foden. And that's how we're actually able to build out quite nicely against Liverpool. The most common pattern was, so Liverpool pressed out in a 4-4-2. So our defenders were passing it from one to another. It would normally fall to, I think it would normally be like Ake or Nico, more on the left side. Foden drops really deep to almost to our own defensive third at times, or in and around like the halfway line, whatever. Foden picks up the ball, and it's normally a first-time ball to his left. Well, yeah, visually my right, because I'm at the stadium, so visually my right, but in terms of out to the left to Doku, basically, and then Doku can go ahead and have a lovely time. And we did that over and over and over again, and it worked. In terms of building out, I was really worried that Liverpool's midfield were just going to totally overwhelm us, but that's not what happened, and it's because of that. So it was essential in terms of building out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have really been able to actually build out of Liverpool's press. And even at 0-0, again, I know second half, Liverpool, they're 2-0 up. They don't care. They don't have to come out. But again, in that first half, even before we conceded the first goal, I felt like we were playing good football. It was the first time where City actually felt first time in a while against a big side, where City actually felt, to an extent, measured on the ball and relatively comfortable in terms of building out. And as I say, that came from the false nine tactic. So I was very happy with that, to be honest with you. What was I less happy about? And I've tweeted about this. So if you've seen my a tweet about this, then you'll already know. The thing about a false nine, and I think I briefly saw that Bailey mentioned this earlier. The thing about the false nine is that in order for it to work, like effectively, you need to have some sort of central runner. You need to have central runners, basically, because the idea is that the false nine drops and then players will run off them. Now, whether that's directly, almost like running in like the shadow, or whether it's just making a late run from deep. So, for example, if you think of like the what was the season where Gundogan absolutely popped off? Was it 2020-21 towards the end? Like basically in that sort of scenario, you'd have Foden as the false nine, and then Gundogan would be that player making that deep run, it being crashing the box, being a really good late goal threat, or just having a presence in the box and maybe picking up like a loose ball, that sort of thing. You need your 8/10s, whoever it is, to make those runs, basically. So technically, in terms of the game today, those players would have been De Bruyne, they would have been Marmoush. Now De Bruyne was spending a lot of the game out at like right back slash right wing, that sort of area. So he wasn't really in the centre. There were some nice moments where he would pick up the ball, as I say, at right back, play the ball in behind for Savio. Usually Savio. Foden was also making a lot of runs off ball, but sadly they weren't found. Sometimes that would happen, but in general, De Bruyne wasn't really that central presence. I was a bit surprised at Marmoush's positioning. Again, I'm assuming like that's an instruction from Pep. He was a lot more left-leaning than I thought he was going to be. I really thought that, I really thought that Marmoush was going to be that central outlet. But for whatever reason, he wasn't. I feel like that would have, like, instinctively, that sort of would like go hand in hand with his playstyle as well. Like, he likes to make those runs. But it was very unusual that he didn't. And again, one assumes that is an instruction, because why would Marmoush like just decide not to do that when I know full well that he likes to make those runs? As I say, he was more. Maybe I should have a look at his average positioning, just to make sure. But I feel like he was very towards like the left side today. This won't tell me everything, but it might tell me in general where he got his touches. Yeah, so he was. Yeah, he was far more left than I thought he was going to be, which I thought was a bit unusual. I thought it was a bit of a waste because we didn't really need that when you've got Doku out there. So what basically happened was that because there's no central runners, and again, I started this by saying I thought we played, it was encouraging and quite well, etc. But I did have a little grievance. As I say, the false nine tactic was working. Foden was dropping deep. We were getting out of their press. It was absolutely fine. That was lovely. The ball would go to the wingers, Savio, usually Doku. Don't know Savio's exact take on numbers, but he was very, very willing to take on Robertson continually and over again. So let's use Doku as the example. He'd take on Trent. He'd beat Trent over and over. He looks up. He wants to play the ball in, but he looks up and it's only Foden in the box. Now, I don't even really want Foden in the box. I don't really want my false nine to be having to, stand in the box trying to wait for a cross or, making a striker movement. I don't want my false nine to turn into a 9. Does that make sense? I want my false 9 to still be floating a little bit deeper, especially with that long shot threat. I want them to be outside the box, preferably. But obviously, you need someone in the box. Otherwise, the defenders are just standing there like, okay, what's going on? So, again, in those moments, I'm sort of thinking, why aren't another couple bodies in the box there? These are where, for me, like these later runs from someone like Marmoush or a Kevin De Bruyne should be coming from, but they weren't. And it was very odd. So, as I say, all it was left with was Konate and Van Dijk. Just all they had to do was like deal with Foden in the box, basically. And outside of there was one moment in the second half where Marmoush, he had to play it to Foden. He actually would have had a tap in, but sadly he took the shot. That was really the only time where, a ball across would have resulted in something. Other than that, it was like that the wingers were doomed. I've seen a lot of critique about Doku and Savio from this game. That a lot of them saying, oh, there was no end product from them. They beat their man, but then what? But there's not much they can do if, as I say, like we use the Doku example, if Doku looks up and he's like, right, I've got midget Foden in the box and he's up against Van Dijk and Konate. So an aerial ball is not going to do anything in this situation. And if I play it across the box, like maybe I can get a fortunate tap in. But even then, if it breaks for a second ball, there's only really one City player in the box. So and as compared to 4 Liverpool players. So just by virtue of numbers, it's going to be very tricky for City to actually do anything. So that was a shame. As I say, I don't really know what the strategy was there. This isn't a critique of Marmoush. It's more just a question of why wasn't he making those runs? I'm assuming it's because he wasn't instructed to. Because again, Marmoush likes to make those runs. I've seen him make them for Frankfurt. I've seen him make them for City as well. Thank you, Martin, for renewing your membership. Big up to you, Martin. Ultras Club Milestone, member for a total of 1 month. It says big up. Big up. And your random footballer is Ruben Neves. He would have been nice partnering Nico today. There you go, Martin. There's your poll. Got to collect them all. Yeah, there's over 1,000 footballers in my random footballer database. So... what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm not going to have a go at, Doku or Savio, etc. because they are not going to be able to find Foden in a sea of red, are they? It's not really going to happen. Even if Doku had the end product and the cross of David Beckham, nothing's going to happen. The only time where those crosses actually did look threatening were when it was when it was a cross from deep. It reminded me of, I think it was the first Brentford goal that the Foden scored, where De Bruyne picks it up in the right wingish area or right central midfield. He plays the ball, it loops over the defender. Foden's able to finish it. There was one similar moment in the first half where De Bruyne again picks it up, but instead of whoever that Brentford defender was, it's Van Dijk, and he's able to, and he's a behemoth of a defender. The ball doesn't fall to Foden, who would have had a tap in and a goal, but for that. So again, it was a fantastic defensive display by Liverpool for sure. So that was my main critique of that. I think that what should have happened there was you have Foden outside the box, and you have Marmoush / De Bruyne / whoever occupying some players in red, because you can't have no one in the box, because again, otherwise they're just it's even less of a chance that Doku and Savio are going to be able to do something then, because they're crossing to literally no one as opposed to figuratively no one. So by virtue of you want to score a goal, you've got to physically have someone in the box. Don't really know what the thought process was there. That was a little bit confusing. But on an individual level, as I say, I thought the wingers actually played quite well. Foden's first touch wasn't good enough in the final third. Interestingly, the first touch was a lot better in the build-up phases. It was in the box, sadly, where it lacked, and that's very unlike him. So he had a bad game from that perspective. But as I say, from a build-up perspective, which is what we've been struggling with all season, it was actually quite good. It was just very odd that it was false 9 in the first 2 phases, but then out and out 9 in the final phase. Very unusual there. Very unusual. And it's not really because again, if you think about false 9s in the game, if you think Liverpool's Firmino, or you think of how City did it for a couple of seasons ago, the false 9 in the build-up does not become the actual striker in the attacking phase. They normally do still stand off a little bit, and it's normally as I say, it might be a late run from someone like a Gundogan, who will put the ball into the back of the net or support and help out. So I liked the concept. And again, I liked the fact that we were able to overcome their press by virtue of dropping that false 9 in. But the first touch from it, to be fair, the first touch from all of our attackers wasn't really good enough. And I didn't really get the lack of penetration from the centre from like Marmoush, for example. Didn't really understand that. Didn't really get that. Had the first touch been a little bit better from our attackers, then maybe we could have created something. I'm not sure. But in terms of the approach play, I actually thought it was actually quite good, and it was fine. To be honest with you, you've got to remember that we are up against one of, if not the best defenses in the world. So that is a thing. That's my thoughts on how we attacked, though. Again, it's a very unusual false 9 strategy. It didn't really work. False 9 football will only work if you have those runners. Hopefully we can remember to do that if Haaland's also out against Spurs. I know, like, I haven't got into the defense yet, but just on Spurs, that's a big game that we probably need to win. I would like to set up the exact same way. So if Haaland's not available, if Haaland's available, he obviously starts. But I'd like to set up the exact same way, to be honest with you. So, you know, Foden false 9, Doku, Savio out wide. I don't have a problem with that. I actually really liked the concept. It just needs to be tweaked, and it just needs to, as I say, it just needs to be supported with those late penetrative runs. That's all that needs to happen. And then you've got another threat for the opposition defense to contend with and think about. Yeah, I wouldn't really mind if we did the exact same thing. I thought there was some good football today. There were some good signs. Just the last action wasn't quite there, or it could have been there, but the right bodies weren't around. The right bodies weren't in the right place. Does that make sense? But yeah, in general, I was actually quite happy with how we attacked, to be honest with you. Nico had an incredibly tricky job, you know? He was basically asked to again be the midfield all on his own. So, again, another impossible task there. Individually, defensively, again, I tweeted this. Kusanov had a very good game, you know. He saved us a couple times. I thought he was very good. Thought his passes forward were nice. His interceptions were very spot on as well. I know Rico Lewis made a boo-boo for giving away the corner, which led to the goal. I appreciate that was like a lapse in concentration. I thought Rico Lewis played quite well, to be honest with you. Again, I thought a lot of players played quite well today. I don't think anyone had a truly bad game. Again, I thought they were like, you know, we could have been like tighter in certain areas. I don't think any City player truly played absolutely terribly. Lots of people were having a go at Gvardiol, you know, because he got done by Salah, but that's the guy who's going to win the Ballon d'Or. You know, outside of like Mbappe, you know, getting a goal in the Champions League final, or whatever. So I'm not really going to have a go at him. Like, oh no, Mbappe sent him against when he played Real Madrid. Oh no, Mbappe, one of the best attackers in the world. Like, oh no, Salah sent him as well. So they're very good players. Don't expect Gvardiol to deal with them. You could argue maybe Ake would do a bit better, maybe in terms of like a 1v1, and he probably would. But I'm not going to have a go at him either. Again, I don't think anyone played badly. Maybe like the word worse is a harsh word, but you know, in terms of like they struggled. Oh. Got a fortune for Andrew. Big up to Andrew. Big supporter of the channel. Liverpool fan as well. Well done, Andrew. If you want the rainbow, then you have to tolerate the rain. Rough of the smooth. That sort of thing. There must have been a super chat. I don't like this Liverpool style. It's very boring. Andrew, mate. You're about to win the league. You're about to win the league, sunshine. Be happy. Be happy. There's no protection here. I've discussed how his first touch wasn't good enough, but I say it how it is. I watched the football. I thought outside of the work in the final third in terms of the first touches not being good enough, I thought it was actually quite good, especially in the build-up again. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. But please don't try to suggest that I'm not being intellectually honest here. We're not going to have that on this channel. Thank you very much. Thank you to Andrew again. Yes, Kusanov, very good. It's just, we know that there are systemic issues at City. Oh, sorry, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I did feel like maybe Kevin didn't have the best game. There were a couple of moments where oh my gosh, I've accidentally picked my birthmark, and I'm actually bleeding. Oh my goodness. Oh my, I mean, apologies for that. I'm now bleeding. Oh my. Let's try to not bleed anymore, please, Nobbins. Thank you very much. Yeah, the passes weren't The passes weren't ideal at times, but again, I accept that. Sorry, I appreciate players who want to try to make something happen. So yes, a couple of balls weren't good enough, but I like the concept, and I like the idea that he was trying to make something happen. There were a couple moments, I will say, where again, I don't think, to be fair, I don't know if the TV cameras would have picked this up, because De Bruyne was so deep, a right back at times, and there were some really nice runs by Savio and Foden. Again, I don't know if they would have been picked up on camera. But sadly, De Bruyne didn't try to go for. So that was a shame. But apart from, so that was like maybe a big critique there. But aside from that, I'm not going to have too much of a go at Kevin either, to be honest with you. We know the situation with De Bruyne is physically not up for it for a whole 90 minutes. And we know that if you don't platform him correctly, then he's going to struggle. That being said, some of the passing could have been better today. And again, from all our attackers, the first touch wasn't quite good enough for the most part. Too sloppy at times, too sloppy. We obviously need to prepare for life beyond De Bruyne, and I still do think that right now we probably should be looking at him more as an impact player. I don't think De Bruyne should be starting the majority of games from now to the end of the season. I think he should be a player that you bring on with like 30 minutes to go and you ask him to go for it. I don't think anyone was particularly bad today, to be honest with you. If you guys disagree, that's fine. But I view football through the lens of context, and I don't think anyone was bad. Again, Rico Lewis getting a lot of hate. He was actually quite good. Have I missed anyone? Ederson, I haven't watched the goal. I haven't watched the individual goals back. I don't know if Ederson could have done a little bit better. Maybe that's harsh, But yeah, again, we know the systemic issues at City. It's not going to get better until we bring in more players and until until injured players return. And that's a good point, Spartacus. It's like we play the best team in the world. It's totally fine to accept that the other side are a lot better than you right now, and Liverpool are a lot better than us right now. So I don't really understand the faux outrage. It's like, have you seen how we've played this season? Have you seen how we've played this season? We were never going to win. We were never going to beat them, to be honest with you. Too many City fans get this weird, like, temporary amnesia, seemingly just before every game. Like, they sort of forget everything that came before it. It's very unusual and very odd. Yeah. And again, it's this weird faux outrage. People are saying, oh, the standards don't drop, but they do. Like, objectively, they do. If you physically, systemically can't be that same team. We are not the team from a few years ago. Last season, the season before that. We're just not that this season. You've got to sort of accept that and move on. It shouldn't be hard to accept, but it just is. So it's really weird how people get annoyed after every single game. The issues are the same. They haven't changed. They won't change until that happens. I've been speaking a lot. I'll come to the chat now, because again, this is supposed to be a conversational show, but I feel like nowadays I like to start with a bit of a monologue, just give my thoughts on the match. We do have over 300 people watching, which is lovely. Only 60 likes, guys. That is pathetic. Come on, let's get... I want 200 likes. I want it quick. Yeah? I want it quick. So, get the likes up, please, on the stream. If you like my content, leave a like. If you don't like my content... I don't know why you're here. One assumes if you're watching me, you do, so please leave a like. Thank you very much. Just before I get into the chat, is there anything else that I wanted to say on the match? Again, no. I thought I thought that our approach play was nice. We built out really well. Again, thanks to the false nine tactic. I think a lot of people are maybe missing that. Have you seen how we've struggled against teams this season? This is one of the only times where we've actually looked good in terms of building out. That's big progress, guys. And you might say, you know, that's not good enough, but you got to take the little wins this season. It's baby steps. And again, the opposition were just better than us this season. The fact we were able to sometimes play through them and outplay them at times is progress for me. And I'm going to take that little win, to be honest with you. You can call me a happy clapper if you want. I don't think I am one, but I think you've got to take that. You've got to take that as a little thing. Again, big up Liverpool. And let's also just be real here. You know, I'm certainly of this view. I think basically all of us here also sort of, you know, low key want, or high key want Liverpool to win the league, because it's either that or it's Arsenal, and I just can't be dealing with the social media stuff. It's got to me to the point where I just can't deal with them. I can't deal with them. So hey, we've at least contributed to Arsenal not win the league, I guess. I don't know. Oh dear. Kusanov was top, says Naj. Yeah, again, I liked Kusano. I think he's only 20 years old. There's a really good player in there. I'm so happy with how he started his City career. I don't like how the commentators have now decided that they've now decided that he's apparently not a good player. Like, he was bad in those first 5 minutes against Chelsea, but he was good for the rest of the Chelsea game, and he was quite good against Real Madrid, out in a position he's never played before against Vinicius Jr. I don't really like how he's being, like, portrayed. I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like we need to be protecting our players a little bit more, to be honest with you. And Kusanov's one of them. We need to back this guy. He's going to be. I think he already is a very good player, and I think he will be an even better player. We need to protect this guy, because for whatever reason, people in like the mainstream media or whatever have now decided he's not good enough. I don't really get that. I don't like that. I don't think that's fair. Fortune for Martin. To determine whether someone is beautiful, it's not by looking at their appearance, but their heart. Oh, isn't that precious? Big up to you, mate. Thank you so much, Martin, for supporting. We'll get to your super chat in a moment. We only considered one big chance today. Is that true? Hello? Big chance watch. I've let the side down. That is really good. I mean, Liverpool are clinical. And again, if those, you can call those goals fortunate if you want to, or, you know, just quite clinical. If they don't score those goals, then the second half is different. I still suspect they win, and obviously game state's a thing. That's why they didn't create as much. But especially when you compare it to the Anfield performance, it is night and day for me. So again, Liverpool backed off, sure, but you're absolutely right. Only one big chance conceded. Hey, progress. I don't agree, Nevans, that he's not good enough for City. I agree that he's not good enough to start for City right now, but the idea that he's got to go is silly to me. That's silly. Still very worried about top 5, says Mad Hatter. I don't know, because I'm looking at our fixtures, and look, I'm not saying they're easy, but they are certainly more favourable than the run we've been on, you know? Again, I know that, you know, Spurs and Forest aren't easy. I know Brighton aren't easy, but seriously, compared to what it was a few weeks ago, our run-in's relatively favourable. Again, and then once again, there are a couple of tricky games here and there, but I don't think we play anyone else. Well, United, but again, they're shit. After this Spurs game, we don't play anyone else in the, quote, Big Six. So, hey, that's decent. Big up to Martin. Liverpool dropped to 5th or 6th in their rebuild. Now look, it's transition and rebuild. Will be back stronger next season. Patience. Absolutely, Martin. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. that we will go in hard in the summer, as we need to do. It should have happened last season. It needs to happen now. We will bring in at least a right back. That obviously needs to happen. We'll bring in a midfielder. Depends on outgoings. You know, if like Grealish goes, maybe we'll need to bring in another wide option. Maybe we'll look at our attack and go, well, with Bob coming back, it'll be fine. But yeah, I think it's very knee-jerk for people to suggest that, you know, like City are done and this is it. Their dominance is over. Now, will they win 4 in a row again? Maybe not. But like the idea that like City are absolutely finished at the highest level for me is very unusual. I think it's I can only really conclude that it's like copium, because like do you really think the City won't be back? Do you think that they'll be happy? I don't think so. That poor Kusanov shit people are doing is really pissing me off. That kid's going to be a top centre back in the country. I think he already is very good. He's already very good. What do you think of Diaz lately? Seems more error prone. I think that I do take that point. You know, there have been a couple instances, like the biggest ones where, you know, like Real Madrid at Anfield as well. I just think that comes with the extra fatigue, both physically and mentally, that this side has. XG was almost the same, says Zubair. Spartacus, I love how Kusanov is responding to his initial mistake. It's almost like it doesn't even faze him. I don't think it did. I think he's one of those players where it's like, yeah, whatever. He's the reverse Mangala. Mangala made one error against Hull, own goal, and that was the end of him as a City player. He could not bounce back from that. Kusanov is like, yeah, whatever. And that's what you need. If my player misses a penalty, I want them to take the next penalty. Assuming they're not shit at penalties. But you know what I mean? Like, if a player makes a pass and it's like crap, I don't want them to go, oh no, I don't want to play that pass again. What if I give it away? I want them to go, okay, I made a mistake that time. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to keep doing it. And maybe I'll misplay some passes and maybe fans will get annoyed at me. But I know this is the right thing to do. I need to take this risk. I need to make this switch. I need to do this dribble. You need to make something happen. So yeah, I take that for sure. How's the stream, says Brub, weirdly not even bummed. Neither am I, genuinely. Again, if we played like that against Real Madrid, we'd probably still lose, but I would have had a much better time, to be honest. I would have had a much better time. Who do I think we should sign? It depends on outgoings, Imran. It depends on outgoings. For example, let's say we sell Kovacic, Nunes, Gundogan all at once. I feel like I'm missing up Bernardo. You know, let's say we sell them all at once, and we're gonna have to bring in at least 3 players there, aren't we? Maybe even like 2 midfielders rather than the one. For me, it depends on outgoings as well. But in terms of like specifics, sorry, my birthmark's still bleeding. In terms of specifics, you know, we're obviously linked with Cambiasso. Haven't properly scouted him yet, but he sounds promising. If we can somehow get Baleba, that would be lovely. Don't think it'll happen, but that'd be the dream. Again, if we get rid of a goalkeeper, then we're gonna have to bring in another goalkeeper. Like if Ederson is sold, we need to sign a goalkeeper. I can't be positive after what I've seen this season, says Guru Plays. I don't know. I think you can. Are we going to win 4 in a row again? 98% chance we don't, but will we be back at the top? That's the thing, Spartacus, isn't it? Yeah, that's the thing. We need to focus on experience in the summer, says Rowan. Our academy lads are performing well. We need players in their prime to help shepherd them in. Yeah, there needs to be this balance, doesn't there? We don't have, I think I've said it before, in terms of like players who are in their physical prime, we've only got 2. And like, you know, and also like a player who is like, I want them to start week in, week out. Like they're a core of this team. I can only really think of 2, and that's Diaz and Rodri. Diaz has been out with loads of injuries this season. Rodri's obviously been out the entire season. We have a lot of players on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like we have a lot of older players, like who are either 30 and above. We have a lot of players who haven't even hit 25 yet. You know, like Haaland, Foden, Savio, Doku. There's not enough of a mix. I do agree with that, yes. Still wants a couple, like, younger players as well, but yeah. Hello, Musty. When's Bob returning? I've no idea. Arsenal, another trophyless season. W in my eyes. Oh, dear. And Ghana fan base has stopped treating Kasam like an immigrant Make-A-Wish child. Wait, what? I can see the makings of a good team. Yep, definitely. It is not if it is. It is not if it is must. Edison sorry, I don't know what that means. Can do a video how we set up on defense. I've done a video called Our Man City Broken. Excuse me. It doesn't get as many views and much love as I wanted, by the way. I think it did decent. It was like 30,000. It should have got more. Go and watch the video. It's very good. And every issue in that video is still applicable right now. Some of it's gotten a little bit better in terms of squad building because Nico's come in, but the general core is still there. It's still there. So would recommend. Remember, Liverpool had a bad season before their rebuild. Teams are allowed, especially whatever term you want to use, dynasties or whatever, you're allowed to have a season where, every single one of your players is not performing to the levels you'd like them to perform to. I don't think any player, that started this season is performing to the level that they can, and has done that on a consistent basis all season. I don't think any player has. I think the closest that we could say is probably Gvardiol, a player who for a couple months seemed to be making a mistake every game or every other game. No player this season has been able to perform to the level that we know they can. It's just a reality of the situation we are in. We are allowed an off-season. We are allowed a transitional season. It's not a problem. It's fine. As I tweeted, we should not be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We should not be going, because every single player has been the victim of it. We shouldn't be going, Gvardiol's not good enough, and Foden's not good enough, and Haaland's not good enough, and Savio's not good enough, and Doku's not good enough, etc., etc. No, these players are good enough. They've illustrated in the past that they are good enough, or they've illustrated with their potential that they are good enough. But they have to be platforms to succeed, and ever since Rodri did his ACL in, no player has been able to be platformed correctly in this side, to be honest with you. That's a reality of our current situation. So I totally agree. Some people need to chill. Yeah, I get it, that there's a difference between, I'm not accepting mediocrity, but you have to sort of accept that you can't win the title every season. And if this season ends and we get Champions League football, and after, all jokes aside, we have technically won a trophy this season with the Community Shield. If we can do well in the FA Cup, and if we can win the Club World Cup or do well in that competition, given the context of the signings, if they've been integrated, the Pep extension, the Haaland extension, this is a good season. And it's a good, bad season. Yeah? It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. It's not about lowering standards. It's about understanding and being practical and realistic. It's a very good point, Dave. What position are they even in? I know they're not going to get relegated because there are too many teams that are worse than them, but my God, they're 15th. 15th. Yeah, exactly. Could be worse. Could be United. Exactly. The fact that we are still ahead of Chelsea, for example, and only 3 points off Forest in the third. If we can just get Champions League football, who cares? Who cares? Fire the set piece coach ASAP. I will say that the set pieces were poor today. Now, I think a lot of and again, Haaland's another player who people have tried to scapegoat this season. He just goes to show how, even if he's not scoring from the set piece, even if, of course, Martin, if we win the 1-1-5, then it's the best. I'm not being funny, guys. Winning the 1-1-5 is literally more important than winning the Premier League. Because if we lose that case, and if we get relegated or kicked out of the Football League, whatever the result, not only is it bad in the short term, because we're not in the Premier League anymore, whatever the exact punishment would be, but it would bring into disrepute all of our achievements. And basically, you couldn't have a conversation with anyone about City's victories and trophies without them going, yeah, but it doesn't count because you got done for financial misgivings. It would literally bring the whole legacy into disrepute. Now, whether that's right or wrong is irrelevant. Perception is reality. So just on the set pieces, Haaland's presence is massive. Even if he's not directly attacking it or directly involved in it, if Haaland's in the box, if you've got like a 6'5", a Viking, who's, he can like, even if his only thing there is taking Van Dijk out of the equation, he's causing a nuisance and giving space for other players. The delivery should have been better today. By Foden, wasn't impressed by Foden's corners today. Very surprised by Marmoush's corners as well. I feel like he hasn't really put in a good corner for City since that Arsenal game, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, like the set pieces today weren't really good enough. But again, a lot of that was informed by the lack of a Haaland in the box. We had zero aerial presence today, zero threats there. In fact, I'd love to know the average height of City's attackers this season, because who were our attackers? It was Doku. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's do this one by one. How tall were all these lads? Because again, there was zero aerial threats there. So Doku is 5'8". I think Foden's 5'7". How tall's Savio? I feel like he's a short king as well. Savio's 5'9". Yeah. To be fair, I think Marmoush is 6 foot, but he's not good in the air. And he was also taking the corner, so it would have been irrelevant. Yeah, Marmoush is 6 foot in fairness, but he's very bad in the air, to be honest with you. So we had zero aerial threat as well. We got loads of short kings on the pitch, so we were never going to be an aerial threat there either. So yes, the set piece delivery should have been better by Foden and Marmoush in particular. But look at our targets, man. Like Diaz has never been good in the air in terms of attacking corners. The only one really is Ake, who's not tall himself, up against Van Dijk. Gvardiol, maybe. Again, they've got Van Dijk and Konate and Gravenberch. They've got giants on the pitch. Couldn't really deal with them. We had some luck that all the teams that could have knocked us down the 4th spot lost their games for Sebastian True. Yeah, and win the 1-1-5. We can't get Bruno G. I think that ship has sailed, sadly. That ship has sailed, which is a shame. Haaland's so important for us now, we know. And we knew that. I've been saying on this channel, again, people love to try to scapegoat him. People love to try and say, oh, I miss the false 9 days. We definitely play better without him. He's just talking nonsense. Of course, basically every single team plays better when they've got an actual striker. And there are some exceptions to that, but in general, you ask every manager and you go, right, would you rather have a striker system or a false 9 system? They are all going to say striker. They're all going to say that. Why do you think that Pep Guardiola bought Haaland after 2 years of playing false 9 football? He wasn't satisfied with it because he knew it's not the optimal way to play football. You want a striker. Haaland goes from 2 big games in a row. Shut up. But at least there's a threat, Jules. You know what I mean? At least there's a threat there. Wonder if people realise now. I hope they do. I really hope they do. Do you think we should keep McAtee? I don't really know what his future is at this club. Realistically, let's say that McAtee, for argument's sake, let's say that McAtee can play on the left, and he can play on the right, and he can play as an attacking midfielder. Let's say, for argument's sake, those are the 3 positions McAtee can play, right? Well, on the left, he's behind Doku, and he's behind Savio, and right now he's probably behind Grealish, and I don't even think he can play on the left anyway, but I'm just saying names, and maybe we'll even sign a left-sided player. On the right, probably a position he's more likely to play, because he has played there for City this season. He's not ahead of Savio. He's not going to be ahead of Bob. Doku can also play on the right. So absolute maximum, he's going to be 4th choice out on the right there. And then we look at the attacking midfield areas. If De Bruyne stays, he's behind De Bruyne. He's obviously behind Foden. He's behind Bob in that regard. If we sign another attacking midfielder, he'll be behind him. Echeverri is coming in. He's going to probably be behind Echeverri as well. So we're looking at him being, what, the 5th choice for the 10, the attacking midfield position. Even if you play with a double 10s or 2 8-10s, we're looking at least 3 or 4 players still being ahead of him. So it's very likely that he doesn't really have a future at City. So I think that it depends what he wants. If he's fine, if he wants to stay as a squad player, I would keep him because I think he's a useful player. But if he wants to start, on a relatively consistent basis, it's not going to happen at City. Bar him surging and turning into something else that he's not now. Again, it's very hard to judge ceilings and potential, but does anyone here truly think that McAtee's potential is greater than Oscar Bob's? From the little that we've seen of Echeverri, someone who I believe he's 5 years his junior. I think, is Echeverri 17 and McAtee's 22? I might have got that wrong. He's certainly a lot younger than him. Does anyone think that Echeverri has a more shallow potential than McAtee? From even the little that we've seen of him. If we do end up, let's say we sign Baena and get rid of De Bruyne, does anyone think he's going to be starting ahead of him? No. If he wants to stay and he's happy being a squad player, lovely. But if not, if I'm McAtee, I'm probably leaving. I just don't see how you'd get in the side. And I don't really think he's good enough to get into the side either. So you're saying Foden's not good enough to win an aerial battle versus Van Dijk and Konate? Ridiculous. Guy, brilliant. Surely Phil at 10, Marmoush 9 is better. That's another alternative. In general, again, I don't think anyone's first touch was good today. In general, Foden's first touch is a lot better than Marmoush's. His first touch in the final third let him down today. Sadly, that was the case with Marmoush as well. So maybe the thinking was, if in general you punt for the player who's got the better first touch. So I think it makes sense. Oh gosh, I think I got some dried blood just went in my eye. Oh my god. Oh, this is a horror. Oh god, that is disgusting and horrible. Oh my god. Apologies, guys. Vile behaviour from me. Echeverri needs to put some muscle to compete. Did David Silva have a load of muscle? Did Iniesta really? Was Iniesta a bulky behemoth? Was Xavi? You don't need to necessarily have that. It would be nice. You don't need to have that. It's not necessarily a thing. I probably should get a tissue, shouldn't I? But I can't bother moving because I'm a lazy boy. I hate how Pep told McAtee to stay. Should have sold him in the summer. McAtee, I think, has been the victim of Rodri's injury because you can't justify starting McAtee in basically any game. Outside of Foden, De Bruyne, Bob continuing to be injured. You know what I mean? You can't really justify it. Is he 19? So he's still 3 years his junior, isn't he? And that's the final thing. McAtee's not a really young player. He's a young player. I feel like the cutoff for being a young player is probably 25. 24 is the absolute max. That you can say he's a young player, and even that's pushing it. He's not a really young player, is McAtee. Bar some, and maybe he will be a late bloomer, but we're running out of time in that sense. Is Diaz washed? Nope. I needs to go. Oh, Musty, you fraud. Messi didn't need muscles. Again, Messi's a different level, but you understand the point I'm making. Of course, you need a certain level. Silva was way more experienced before coming. It's a good point. Although I think he was around that same age, to be fair. I'm not in charge of the squad. I'm not, indeed. Thunders and Muslim is the best player in the league last year. Yes, indeed. Echeverry, South America. Yeah, he's tenacious as well. You don't necessarily need to be a bulky... It helps. Like, if you are a bulky boy, like if you are blessed with a long frame and muscle, like let's say Jude Bellingham, then immediately your ceiling is naturally going to be higher than someone who doesn't. If you are, 5'6", I think David Silva was around that, was he? If you are like a David Silva, then you need to be better from a technical perspective to try to balance that out. That is a thing. So yeah, you are sort of stunted from that sense, and it is harder for you, but it's not impossible for you. And again, you can be tenacious, you can learn how to use your body. Bernardo Silva, for example, is not in his heyday, was never a really strong player, but he was very clever about how he used his body. Doc is underrated. He rattled Trent. And again, I think had we had more people in the box outside of Foden, if I didn't have my false 9 having to be the 9, I actually had other players around him. And again, Haaland wasn't here today. Then maybe his crossing work would have been a bit better. I feel like City have the profiles to play more counter-attacking style, says JS. Maybe. In general, though, we know that we want to... For me, my footballing philosophy is that if you control the ball, you control the game, you tend to win the game. That's the way I view football, personally. Different philosophies, etc. There's no right or wrong answer there. My personal philosophy is I want to control the game, control the midfield, dominate the opposition, overwhelm them, win the game like that. And that's how Pep views it as well, I think. Thoughts on Beckenbauer? Yeah, we touched on him earlier. He was great. Everton players had more passion today. I don't know what that means. I don't think it was passion, a lack of passion that caused us to not win today. I think it was the fact that Liverpool are the best team in the world and Haaland's not available and Rodri's not available. I don't think I agree with that. Without Rodri, don't have enough of a safety blanket. Exactly, Spartacus. That's the thing. You can't... It's the reason why we were able to nicely, slowly, and in my view correctly, embed Foden into the team over the years is because we had players like Fernandinho and De Bruyne and David Silva who could hold his hand and guide him and incorporate him into the side slowly but surely. That's happened, and by that, the point by 2019, he was becoming instrumental in terms of winning trophies for us. As early as 2019, it's very hard to do that if you don't have the, as you say, the safety to do that. You can do that if you're shit, and it's like, well, there's nothing to lose here anyway. Might as well just play. That's why. Again, I'm not having a go at Man United here, but I personally don't really rate that stat of they've got an academy player in the squad for however many years. First of all, it's arbitrary. You can just randomly do that and not even bring them on. But secondly, it's a lot easier to introduce players if you have nothing to play for. If you're not competing for a title, what's the risk of starting the youth? You might as well do it. The only risk is if you are going for the title. If we buy Wirtz, then what can we do? We have Omar and Foden in the half space. If you bought Wirtz, you probably do to it. You probably have Foden and Wirtz as the 8-10s. One would assume that would be the idea. I don't know how I feel on the Wirtz situation. I'm not dead against it, but how much is he going to cost? Is he like going to be 100? Because Leverkusen don't want to sell. I don't even know if he wants to come. He's going to be like, I don't know, 150 million. I think that's probably about right. Certainly over 100. I don't know what our budget is from a FFP perspective, but let's say that you've realistically, in terms of a gross spend, you can spend 300 million quid. That's probably a lot, but maybe 200 million is more realistic. But let's say 300 million. That's half our budget gone, and we need more than one player to come in. I don't know if just having that subsequent 150 million would be enough, because I think we need especially depending on the outgoings, you probably need like another 2 or 3 on top of that. And if you want the elite players, you're going to be wanting to spend, 60 odd on each individual player. So I don't know if I want to dedicate like half or over half of our war chest to that. I don't know. I'm on the fence in that sense, and that rhymes, and that's why I'm a rapper. I'm not. That's a lie. That's cap. Dave has just said it there. I would personally rather go for someone who is actually a bit more of a high-volume passer than Wirtz. Go for someone like a Bayern who's going to be cheaper, still going to provide what City needs. Is he that star player right now? Maybe not, but I still think he's an excellent player, and I think that'll be maybe better. Maybe. Again, I don't know. I don't know what our budget is, but I'm a little bit hesitant to say, yeah, let's go spend 150 million on Wirtz if we can say, okay, that's fine, but if we do that, we can only spend, another 100 million on the rest of the squad. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Cambiasso is going to cost at least 50 million, maybe even 60. So now that leaves, 40 million or whatever to bring in the midfielder that we desperately need. I don't know if getting in that sort of player is... I don't know if that should be the first priority. Do you get me? Fortune for Alex. Man is born... Sexist? Oh, sexist. Man is born to live and not prepare to live. Also, poor grammar, hello. Man is born to live and not prepare to live. These cookies are clapped. What does that even mean? Man is born to live and not prepare to live. Is it a point about nature? Nature over nurture? I think that's a lot of bullshit, and it's grammatically incorrect, and it's sexist. Thank you so much. Passion in the sense to give the crowd something to cheer for. But again, I don't really know what that means. Passion in the sense to give the crowd something to cheer for. Our players were trying to do something, like Doku in particular. He was taking on Trent every single opportunity he could. Like Foden was taking shots from outside the box. He was switching the play. De Bruyne was trying to find those long passes. Savio was taking on his man. Kusanov was going in hard with those tackles. I don't know if I agree with that, to be fair. I don't know if I agree. I was doing quite a lot of cheering. But hey, maybe it's because I'm a happy clapper. I'm not. I'm very critical. Yeah, I get bored when super chats happen. Yeah, indeed. That's what I think. That's what I think. Get Baena, says Paul. Lots of Baena love here. Let me just catch up on the chat. I feel like I'm quite far behind. What number do you reckon Echeverry will get? What was his number at River Plate? What was his number there? I don't know if he has a number that he likes. What number does he have for, like, Argentina babies? Let me know. Phones had a so-so season, but so-so season doesn't make him poor. Indeed. Everyone been off it, not just him. Exactly. I don't think you can name a player who has been on it this season. Again, I said it earlier. Best example for me is Gvardiol, but even he had a period where he was shipping goals and making horror errors week after week and game after game. I don't think anyone's been truly consistent. You can't be that if... I tell you what, the only way you could do that is if you... Because let's be real for a second. Manchester City this season, our system is dysfunctional. It doesn't matter what system we play, every single one as a starting point is dysfunctional by definition. So, in my view, no player is going to be able to perform to the levels I expect them to do or want them to do it on a consistent basis. The only way that you can, in my view, do that in a dysfunctional system is if the team is built around you. And if the team is built around you, then it doesn't really matter if the system is dysfunctional, because ultimately it is built around you. So you are the system. If all the attacks go through you, you're going to have a good time. The team might not have a good time, the team might underperform, but you as an individual might have a good time. That's the only real way for an individual to thrive in a dysfunctional system, if it's totally built around you. That's not what we've done this season, nor should it be what we do, by the way. Let's say, for example, we go, right, we're gonna build the team around Savio. I'd expect Savio to have like I mean, he's already having a very good season. I expect him to have like, for his level and context, I'd expect him to have, you know, an even better one if we built it around him. But that's not what we're going to do. Again, nor is it what we should do. Where are we up to? Rate Ake out of 10 stem, give him a solid 3.5. I think that's harsh. Again, I said at the top of the show, I don't think anyone played badly. I think certain players could have done better in certain moments, but I understood what every single player was doing today. And against Real Madrid, I had no idea what a lot of players were doing on that pitch. I could not tell you what the purpose of Savio was. It's not a dig or a critique, truly, of him as a player. I couldn't tell you what Savio was doing against Real Madrid. I don't know what his job was. I don't know what his purpose was. I don't know what Marmoush's job was. I don't know what Foden's job was. Today, I knew what every single player was doing, and I thought that, for the most part, a lot of it was executed well. Again, could have been tighter in certain moments, but I actually thought that everyone played decently today. Now, again, is that good enough? No. We want to be better than that, but we've sort of got to accept the reality of the situation. I say that a lot, but I feel like I got to repeat myself there. Hello, Kazoo. Big up to you. That rhymes again. Need Echeverry at 21, says Fabian. Cambiasso will happen. Is that an in the no Martin take? That can happen. Yeah, of course. That's the other one. If you are R9 and you are the best player in the world, then it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? And it's largely irrelevant. Like, if you are the best player in the world, that's a different conversation to be had. That's fine. But outside of that, it's very hard for you to properly function, or rather function to the level you can. You can still perform well, but you wouldn't be able to perform consistently to the level that we think that you can or should be able to. Really, Musty? Why? I was quite happy with today. Why were you annoyed? What's Pep said? Blues, let me know. Number 21 for Echeverry says, does anyone have number 21 right now? I'm not very good with squad numbers. I feel like no one does. Let me know. Ake locks Salah up at the Etihad normally. Yeah, maybe that could have been a thing. Yeah, Gvardiol had a tough time today, but it is Salah. It is Mo Salah. So I'm not going to have a go. I'm not going to have too much of a go. Again, like someone tweeted that today. I replied to it. I can't recall his name, but I replied to it with just a question mark. I was like, what? What are we doing? What's going on here? It's very odd. Very odd. Again, reactivism. We don't do reactivism, guys. Not on this channel. We're having less of that. I will not be throwing... how old's Gvardiol? Is he 22? I'm not going to be throwing a 22-year-old unicorn profile of a defender under the bus because Salah did him and because Mbappe did him. It's not going to happen. It ain't happening. Yeah, exactly. I thought everyone's performance was fine. People can disagree, and that's absolutely well within your right, but I think, given the context of what we've discussed, it's absolutely fine. The best player in the world, Carvalho, did all right. Yeah. Because we're actually good, Stint didn't get anything out of it. Oh, that's fair enough, Musty. That's reasonable. That is reasonable. That's reasonable. Okay, Hayes. So let's take this to fruition. We sack Pep. First of all, who do we bring in? And then secondly, whoever we bring in, what are the chances that this person is going to be able to get this squad to the level, or even close to the level, that Pep got it to? Let me know. We need 2 midfielders, 1 striker and 1 right back that can play left back and a new keeper. Again, depends on outgoings on the keeper, but I agree with that, a lot of that for sure. Yamal is 17, he is still performing. Right? What does that mean? This is Yamal, who is, well, certainly he is, or was, the best ever 16-year-old in football history. In what world is Lamine Yamal the yardstick? In what world is he the standard setter? He is a freak and is not the norm. If it was normal for 17-year-olds to be that good, then every single footballer would be at his level. Yamal is probably going to win the Ballon d'Or in a few years. We could tell that at 16 years old. What does this mean? He is not the standard setter. He's one of the best players in the world. He was one of the best players in the world at 16. I don't think you can name a 16-year-old better than him. Even Pele was not like... I don't even think Pele was playing for Brazil when he was 16. We did the maths on our... Or was hardly playing. We did the maths on the stream in the Spain game in the semi-finals. Like, what? What is happening? Oh! A fraud! A Hall of Shame entrant has been had. It's a Hall of Shame. 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 Fraud. You're in the Hall of Shame, I'm afraid. I don't make the rules, the moderators do. Fortune for Huang. Big up, Huang. Big supporter of the channel. Thank you so much, mate. Do not worry. You will have great peace. There you go. Excellent. Thank you so much, mate. Really, massive supporter of the channel. Thank you so much. De Bruyne is by far the greatest midfielder I've seen play in the Premier League. Totally agree. My favourite player to ever play to put on the blue shirt, but Father Time will always be undefeated. I think he is gone. You know what the saddest thing is, though? Is that it's not even just... So, totally agree. It's not just Father Time. It's also... His body is failing him because of the injuries as well. Like, he literally sacrificed his body to win us the treble. And since then, he obviously, like, missed half of last season. He's missed chunks of this season. Because you can... It looks like you have... Oh, I don't know, Musty. I'll try to figure it out. DM me the quote. I'll figure it out. I'll do it later. Don't add anything else now, Musty. I'll figure it out later. It might be delete, but we'll figure it out off stream. Let's not do it now. Yeah, big up Wang. That's the boy. As I say, Nitin, I will entertain Carlo conversations. The first thing he needs to do is actually defend the league title in the first instance. Then I might be interested. Until then, not quite. Why didn't I do a watch-along? Because I was at the match. I don't do the watch-alongs for home games because I've got a season ticket. I go to the Etihad if it's in the league. If he can do it, nobody else can make excuses. No, AM, you don't quite seem to understand. Didn't think this was a hard concept. Yamal cannot be the standard setter because at 16 years old, he's one of the best players in the world. If it was as simple as every 16-year-old should be able to play like this, then do you not think that every 16-year-old in the world would play like that, given how much money is put into the sport? Yamal is a freak. In a good way, he is a freak. You might as well say, well, why can't everyone play like Messi? Because Messi's a human. It's not how it works. Yamal cannot be the standard setter, and if you are trying to make him the standard setter, then I really am concerned about your cognitive development. That's incredibly concerning. I will be making one of these, yes, Sebastian, yes I will, later in the season. Still need to make my bloody haste video, don't I? I'm such a fraud, man. I've got sidetracked with a project at home. Yeah, Bob's apparently had a setback, hasn't he? Which is a shame. Oh dearie me. This was the answer to who you're gonna bring in. Oh dear. Oh dear. Exactly, yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that's mental, man. It's not 20. I love Mancini, but it's not 2012 anymore. It is not 2012 anymore. Exactly. we can't be using an anomaly as the standard setter. It's crazy. It is insane. And again, if you want to do that, then then you are going to have a very, very sad life, and you are never going to be satisfied with anything, I'm afraid. Whether in your personal life, or whether in your professional life, or whether in your footballing life, that can't be that can't be the thought process. If it is the thought process, again, I'd give you try to do like some try to do a transplant. We haven't quite done brain transplants yet, but you might want to look into it. Sack Pep, bring me in. Yeah, very unusual. Again, the issue with this is, here's the thing. You can always look to. I feel like this is the case with a lot of things. You can always look to rivals and their reactions to see what is the truth. For example, if one of your players is getting mental hate, they're probably a good player. By rivals, they're probably a good player. If they are, if rivals are, happy that a player gets injured, or if they are, upset that a player or manager has signed an extension, they're probably a very good player or manager. I think the reaction to the Pep extension should really tell us everything. I think there is some truth in that. There was mass head loss from rivals because they wanted this to be the last season, or next season, whatever it was going to be. They wanted that to be the last season. They were upset. I think you've got to you can sometimes look to your rivals in that sense. And again, the almost outrage should hopefully tell us that if rivals don't want that, then if rivals are saying, "Oh God, he signs an extension," blah 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 blah, you should probably look at that as a bit of a good thing, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm deluded. I genuinely believe Pep turns this around. I think he did, because again, it's I don't think we can use this season as an outlier, we can't use the season as a measurement of anything. This can't be a yardstick, This is a really weird outlier of a season. There is no way that we don't learn from our mistakes in respect of squad building. There is no way, touch wood, that our most important player, where we don't even have an understudy, gets injured for the entire season. There is no way that we have a defensive injury crisis, and also like our goalkeeper being out for a time, and also our wingers being out for so long, and now our main striker being out for so long, and basically every single area of the pitch being destroyed by injury this season. There's surely no way that happens again. If it does, but I'd be very surprised if it did. Be very surprised. Personally. What do you think next season will look like if we bring Wirtz and other young players and sell older ones? It's a good question. Again, it's so hard to judge because I don't know what the outgoings are going to be. But for example, I'm loving the idea of, I think this could be very fun, just based on players that we know are going to be at the club. Can you imagine how fun a midfield of Rodri, Nico as the base, and then Foden, Echeverri would be? That could be fun. That would be lovely. That's without even I know that's, asking a lot of Echeverri. On paper, that could be very, very fun. Yeah? You could go for like the 3-1-6 that Pep started the season with, and which he tried to persist with so much this season. You could have Rodri at the base. You can have Foden and Nico out at the side of the diamonds. You can have Echeverri at the tip. That could be really fun. That would be a lovely example midfield, and then you could have Gvardiol out on the left, Savio on the right, Haaland through the middle. That could be a good midfield. But there are loads of options. If we bring in someone more like a Baleba, you could start Rodri, Baleba, Nico. And now all of a sudden, you've got a ridiculously strong midfield out of and in possession in terms of rest, defense. Like, that's easily the best midfield in the world, all of a sudden. It's hard, though. It's hard. It's hard. Why do I have a delusional feeling with chill? If we somehow won today, I reckon we would have done it, but nah. Third is our best bet. And I'll tell you what, third, in an off season where the squad building's been horrendous, is actually quite good. Yeah? It's actually quite good for an off season. Kusanov was classed. Yes, I agree, James. Rodri, Nico, Doku, Foden, Bob, Savio, Haaland says Musty. Just all-out attack. Why did Big Brain Pep decide to play a possession game against counter-attack in Liverpool? Why? Again, it sort of worked, though. The false nine, in terms of build-up, worked. Foden, in terms of the build-up, worked. It was instrumental in terms of actually everyone's saying, oh, we look so much better today. The only reason why that was allowed to happen is because we played false nine football, and that false nine dropped and actually helped in terms of the build-up. That's why we looked so much better. The reason why we've looked so shit against Liverpool at Anfield, against Arsenal at the Emirates, against Real Madrid, we just couldn't build up and build out to save our lives. So having that player do that was instrumental in terms of everyone going, oh, we're actually playing all right now. That's because of that. It's an action and a consequence of that. It should have been better in the final third, but I don't necessarily disagree with what Pep did. It was sort of half worked. It was sort of all right. Bob being set back is a massive shame. Notice how other than De Bruyne and none of those said to be leaving next season started. If we get reinforcements, we can easily recover. Game was encouraging. I agree. I think it was an encouraging performance. That's what I think. Lizzie says FA Cup. Third. Yeah. Genuinely. And again, I'll repeat. If we can win the 1-1-5, guys, that is bigger and more important than us winning the Premier League. Genuinely. McAtee might have a place. But who over? We touched on it earlier. Realistically, I know I entertained the idea of him being on the left, but realistically, it's either right side or it's an attacking midfielder. On the right side, he's behind Bob. He's behind Savio. He's probably behind even Doku, Foden on that right side. So I would say that he'd probably be our fifth best option there. I would even contend Echeverri, because I'd be very surprised if Echeverri was thrown into the midfield in his first ever season. That did not happen with Foden. Foden had to develop out on the wing before he was allowed to play centrally, and then we all know what happened last season when that happened on a consistent basis. I'd be very surprised if Echeverri comes in and is given that responsibility. So I'd suspect that he might even be behind that player as well. In terms of the centre, again, similar names, because these players can play in the middle as well. He's behind Foden, he's behind Bob, he's behind Echeverri. If De Bruyne stays, he's behind De Bruyne. If we sign another midfielder, he's probably going to be behind him. I just don't know what space he has to start. I don't know. We should get Conte. Yes, Habib. What I would love to do is bring in a manager who notoriously destroys dressing rooms and destroys relationships with the higher-ups. Nah. I love false nine. We need more aggression when attacking the box. That's what we said earlier. It's all well and good having, again, the false nine football worked in terms of the build-up. There's nothing wrong there. We need more than Foden in the box. He's not going to do anything against Konate or Van Dijk, obviously. We needed runs from Marmoush, from De Bruyne to support him. He was just left isolated in the box. I do agree with that, yes. That's why, and also if you don't have Haaland, it's a shame. I didn't notice McAtee. Yeah, McAtee came on and didn't do anything, to be honest with you. McAtee's a good player. I think I've now decided he's never going to be good enough for City. Premier League quality, and maybe even Champions League quality, but it's not going to happen at this club. We've got too many players better than him. There's no pathway. There's no pathway. He's never going to be better than Foden. He's never going to be better than Bob, in my view. from the little I've seen of Echeverry, I doubt he's going to eclipse, he's going to justify starting over him as well. It's a shame. What's the time? How long have I been live for? When did I start streaming? Was it at 7:45? I feel like I've been live for a very long time. 90 minutes, yeah. I'm going to, yes, wrapping up in 10:15. Just texted Mrs. Nobbins. So I'm going to shoot off in like 10 minutes. If LB's live, I will redirect to him. Of course. Got to be better than Gundogan, but I wouldn't play Gundogan, Lizzie. You know, I'm thinking about next season. He's not starting over Bob. He's not starting over Echeverry. He's not starting over Foden. If he signed Bayern, he's not starting over him. Even if there are two places, there's like 4 or 5 players who are starting over him. He should. People saying he should start more games. I hard disagree with that. More minutes and cameo appearances. Yeah, fine. That's absolutely fine. But he's not good enough to start for us, I'm afraid. They're a bit wasteful today. Doc and Savio always beat their man, just improve their decision making. I think we played well. Ake being unfit was our worst enemy. I agree to an extent, but I'm going to go one step further and actually defend the wingers even more, because the decision making at times was actually quite good. The only time where I felt like a player beat their man and the decision making should have been better was actually Marmoush. All Marmoush had to do was like square it and Foden had a tap in, but he went for goal instead. In terms of the wingers, I thought the decision making was fine, but you look up and there's only Foden in the box. It doesn't matter if Foden had the movement of R9 Ronaldo. He's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to beat Konate and Van Dijk and Robertson or whoever. We just needed more bodies there, so the wingers needed more people to hit. He may extend, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it? The Bundesliga, wait, what? Oh, sorry, is that Vinny? Yeah, I agree, yeah. He needs to do well in the Champions League. Who does he play in the Champions League next? Who's he playing in the Champions League? I don't care they required the last minute goal to beat Celtic. Who have they got next? Let me know, guys. Who is it? Who have Bayern got? That is the dream. If Vinny can become a great manager, then that is the dream, obviously. We just have to send him on loan. Who, McAtee? Yeah, he went on loan, didn't he? To Sheffield United. I don't think that was really the best club for him, to be honest with you. I understand people have said, you know, but it bulked him up a bit, got him used to the physicality. That's fine. He needs to be in a Brighton. He needs to be in that sort of environment for me. He needs to be in that sort of environment. If he can go on loan and he's happy to do it, I'd agree. I'd send him out on loan. Ideally, I'd like him to stay, but you know. Mamish has to learn to pass. It was a. Oh yeah, yeah. I keep picking that birthmark. Right, guys, I'm gonna shoot off. I think because I am bleeding once again, and I keep picking. Apologies. Any final questions? Any final thoughts before I shoot off? Do not go anywhere because I'm going to redirect you to LB if he is live. Let me just check. Indeed, he is. He's put panel, just accept the pain. Oh, there we go. Great name for a stream. So let me customize that. As I say, get your final questions in, guys, because I've been live for a long time. Normal, regular uploads will be making a return. I've just got sidetracked with a project that I've been enjoying doing. I will be sorting that out. Where is LB? There he is. This will redirect you to LB when I end. Nah, sadly, it is red. McAtee wants to be a starter. That's not happening here. Yeah, exactly, Ayushi. McAtee won't go on loan due to the contract. Well, that's an L. McAtee wants to be a starter. Yeah, it's not happening here. We think Arteta is the next City manager. Yeah, I've gone off. I still rate Arteta as a tactician, but I've gone off all things Arsenal this season thanks to their social media presence. And that includes Arteta. He's still a great tactician. I still think he's one of the best tacticians. But, yeah, I want 200 likes. I don't know how many people got watching, But I need at least 200 likes, or I'm not ending the stream ever, and I will be here. And I'll be here forever. You get me? It's you don't want that to happen, do you? You don't want me to just be sat here in perpetuity and purgatory. Can't speak. It's sell marketing now, or it goes for free in the summer after. Yeah, and if that's the decision, isn't it? I do want my striker to be a bit greedy, but he wasn't playing as a striker today. That's the thing. He was playing as an 8-10, technically. And again, like if Foden's there for the tap-in, that was, again, I'm not going to have a go at Marmoush today, but there were just a couple of moments where the decision-making I felt was a bit of a shame. There was another one where we actually put the ball in the back of the net. Great finish by Kusanov. You know, Foden should have had an assist. Marmoush just can't stay on side. I understand that's going to be a part of his game, but he does need to be a bit more switched on there in terms of getting back into an onside position, because otherwise we could have had a nice goal, and that nice little flick from Foden sadly led to nothing, because it was obviously offside in the build-up. Sleeping stream. English never loved us. I don't know what that means. No news from Haaland. Yeah, we'll have to wait. Do an Echeverry video. I will be at some point. Yes, don't you worry. Don't you worry. It will be happening. We're nearly at 200. It looks for me like we're only like 6 away. So come on, guys. Get it up here before you leave. Let's get to 200. How well do Verts and Foden work in the same system? That could be very fun. That could be very fun. I don't know if it'd be optimal, but it could be very fun. Don't want to lose Maka on a free. I think we can get like 20. Yeah, we can definitely get a good amount for him. We can definitely get a good amount for him. I think that, but there does have to be an acceptance that he's not good enough to start. I think there has to be that acceptance. He's simply not good enough to start for City week in, week out. Not over the players we have. And if he's not happy with that, then he's going to have to go. Right, on my phone, it says 199. Come on, guys, late push. Let's get to 200 now. Stop crying, and I'll get off your back. Last couple, and then I will shoot off. Final messages from me. Again, it's going to redirect you to LB. Final messages today. I have completed my Lego, Louise. Yes, I'm just waiting for the cabinets to put it on. There we go, over 200. Thank you, guys. Big up to you. Last message from me. I understand that some people have said that they thought X player or Y player didn't play well. I'm going to hard disagree. I don't think anyone was bad today. I thought some players could have played better in certain moments, but I'm fundamentally happy with how we set up, and I really liked some of the ideas there. I thought all the players did their job to an extent. Fight against reactivism, guys. Fight against it. Until then, till next time. Well, I don't know when next. I'll be on LBins tomorrow. I'll be on with LB tomorrow. Make sure to join for that. Until then, guys, have a lovely rest of your evening. I'll see you all next time. Bye.